Like I was kind of blessed, like shout out Dr. Guidish at
Oh
PCO. Like I had
yeah.
multiple people tell me that he had wrote the best letter of rec that they had ever read. And
Aw.
I was like, wow, like
Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of Blink Collective. I'm Lisa, and joining me as always is my co-host Mackenzie.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming again.
Yeah, we're really excited about today's episode because I think it's going to be useful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the perfect time to have this conversation because a brand new class of residents are getting ready to get started.
Whether you're beginning residency this month, thinking about applying this winter, or you're still a student trying to figure out your next step, we hope this episode gives you a realistic look at what residency is really like.
Yes, and today we are joined by Dr. Megan Patterson. Dr. Patterson earned her bachelor's degree in neuroscience from the University of Tennessee before graduating summa cum laude from the Pennsylvania College of Optometry in 2025. She's currently completing a cornea and contact lens residency at the Southern College of Optometry in Memphis with an emphasis in anterior segment disease and refractive and ocular surgery. She's passionate about specialty contact lenses, corneal disease, and education, and we are so excited to have her on the podcast. Dr. Patterson, welcome to Blink Collective.
thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes.
Yeah. Before
Currently-
we dive... Oh, sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I
No,
was
you're
gonna
good.
say
You're
currently completing as in like 3 days left. So
good. Woohoo!
That's so exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. But before we dive in, we do have a question that we ask every single one of our guests. So why optometry?
So I was originally pre-med, didn't really know what specialty or what I wanted to do, just wanted to be in the healthcare world, I think like a
Mhm.
lot of us. And
Yeah.
my college didn't have a lot educating on the different type of professions that you can go into, but thankfully I found my way into a Lions Club vision screening because I wanted volunteer hours.
Nice.
And there was an optometrist there who kind of took me under his wing, and he saw that I was there a lot and saw that I enjoyed working that auto refractor 5 hours every Saturday. And he was like, like optometry, there's a lot more to it than the auto refractor. You should come
Yeah.
shadow me one day. And he was like a pediatric vision therapy guy. And I learned pretty quickly that wasn't what I was into, but it showed me that optometry is a lot more than one or two or the auto refractor. And so I ended up switching to pre-optometry and only applied to optometry schools, no med schools. So
Yeah. I love hearing everyone's answer because no one ever says the same thing, but
Yeah.
always has like the same kind of vibe to it. But
Yeah.
are we ready to jump into our first and favorite segment?
Yes, ready for
Okay.
it. Okay,
All right.
so my hot take is that not everyone should do a residency.
Okay, I feel like that's definitely a hot one for sure. And, Meg, I feel like you are the perfect person to kind of give us your input because you've been through it and neither of us are doing a residency.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like I have to agree. I don't feel like every space requires or needs a residency, just like not every doctor feels like they need that going into whatever job or kind of scenario that they'll be working. I mean, I've always kind of known I wanted to end up in the education or like a hospital type setting. And so for that, you do most of the time require a residency. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, if you just want to be at a private practice, or some people are really passionate about going corporate, like, not all of that really needs a residency.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
some people just want to do a residency and go do whatever they find after. So I agree. I don't think there's a reason it's not mandatory for optometry. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why did you specifically choose to do like a residency? Is more because you wanted to get into education, or
that's kind of like what it evolved into for me. So
Yeah.
because the optometrist that I was shadowing prior to starting optometry school, all of them had done a residency and all of them were fine-tuned, highly specialized. I mean, I was introduced to it by a pediatrics vision therapy guy, and he was big in the sports vision world. So he was working with the athletes at University of Tennessee. And so he was passionate about residency because it got him into this kind of specialized area. And his
Yeah.
colleague at their private practice was a low vision guy. So both of them had taken the time to kind of specialize and make themselves stand out in a city where there was a lot of optometrists to choose from. And so I
Yeah.
kind of went into optometry school assuming that's what I would do. I just wasn't really sure what residency I wanted to do yet.
Yeah.
And after getting there and getting involved in tutoring and being a teaching assistant and giving lectures and all that, that's when I was like, I really like the teaching aspect of it and I like disease. And it, since I already wanted to do one, it wasn't like this big, like, oh, what am I going to do an extra year?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I just
Yeah.
went for it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know Mackenzie, were you in that tutoring group or I know I was in a tutoring group with Meg at one
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
The best tutor
Yes.
ever.
Wow, thanks guys.
Yeah, especially like neuro. Neuro was like never my strong suit, and Meg, that was definitely yours. So
I think I surprised a lot of people when I didn't do some sort of neuro
yes.
residency.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely thought you would be coming back to PCO to work with Dr. Malloy.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like, you did the specialty contact lens kind of vibe at your residency. So we wanted to kind of talk about how you feel. So I am in a practice, and I guess Lisa's going into one as well that has specialty contact lenses.
Yeah.
But it's not like the main thing we're going to do all day, every day. So how do you feel about students who want to do a full scope of optometry, but also have those specialty things in their clinic? Do you feel like they also still need to do a residency to focus on that? Or do you feel like you're able to kind of learn through a mentor at the practice that you're going to?
I definitely feel like you can learn a lot through a mentor if you don't do
Yeah.
residency. I like to think of residency as kind of like the fast track.
Mhm.
So within my year, I have like over 500 scleral fits,
Oh
and
my
I've seen
gosh.
over 2,000 like patients with complex corneal disease. So it's like
Mhm.
the same type of encounters and statistics there. I'm in private practice with a mentor where I know specialty lenses isn't what I'm doing all the time. It would have
Yeah.
taken
Yeah.
a lot longer to kind of get to where I am
Mhm.
now. And so I feel like it is kind of a fast track, like take that
Yeah.
paycheck for a year, get a lot of experience all at
Yeah.
once versus
Yeah.
like if you know that's not something you're going to do all the time. And then you, and like also, like there are docs out in private practice, it's kind of like knowing your limits. Like if you know this
Mhm.
is something you haven't seen a lot and you've kind of struggled with the fit, referring it or giving it to your mentor at the practice who's done a lot
Yeah.
more and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
having them walk you through it from there versus maybe I'm the person that they're sending it to now. But I feel like
Yeah.
me coming out of residency, someone who's been fitting specialty lenses in private practice without a residency for decades, they're still better than me. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
like how fast and when you get to the
Yeah.
learning curve, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I that's kind of like one of the big things that I feel like I was looking for when I was starting to look for jobs was just getting into a practice with other doctors that could mentor me if I wanted to
Mhm.
get into a certain like specialty. So I think that was like super important for me because I didn't want to do a residency. Those loans are they're a little high, and
Oh
I
yeah.
needed that full paycheck.
I made myself cry the other day because I got the idea to sit down and calculate just how much interest I gained this past year
Oh,
Yeah.
while
yeah.
on forbearance for residency. And I was like, why? I just love to torture myself, apparently.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's always a bad day when you look at your loans.
right. But the good news is like we're in a career field, like residency or not, we will make the money to pay it back. So I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Yeah,
stressing over
exactly.
it, but it
Yeah.
does hurt to look.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah.
And definitely something to think about too when you're considering all your options. But, I think our just little conversation we've had so far, it's refreshing to hear that I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure on students to like
Yeah.
choose like the residency path because they think that that's what you're supposed to do because every other medical field is pretty much required to do that.
Mhm.
But it is a lot of different ways to build a good career for yourself.
Yeah.
Just depends on what you want out of your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, for sure. So Meg, what actually surprised you the most when you like started doing residency?
Um, I mean, for me, since I went to a completely different school, there was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things that I kind of just assumed like, oh, PCO does it like this, so every
Yeah.
residency at
Yeah.
a school does it like this. So
Yeah.
there were some things just like logistically with the school that I was like, oh wow, like the culture here is just very different than the school
Yeah.
I went to, which isn't a bad thing. I went to a new school for a reason.
Yeah.
But also just being a real doctor despite being a resident. I feel like that's surprising whether
Yeah.
you're just graduating and starting your first job or starting residency, especially because you hear the jokes of, oh, residents are just glorified students. Like you're gonna have to check out for everything. And at SEO, that's really not how they do things. I was day one signing charts, just going
Oh,
for it. And I was like, oh,
love.
okay. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
like a shock, but also it was nice to be a doctor for the first
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like going on that because at some of the places I was at, I feel like residents kind of each location has different availability to do things or they're
Yeah.
monitored a little bit more. Do you have any suggestions of what someone would ask to kind of figure out the vibe at their residency spot that they're looking for? Like maybe they
That's a
don't
good
want
question.
to have as much kind of monitorization throughout their time.
yeah, I asked a lot about like what kind of the ramp up process was because that
Hmm.
gets you an idea of like how many patients are you going to start out by seeing versus like
Mm,
how many do they expect you to be seeing by the end? How often are we reviewing charts together versus like am I just doing my charts and they're done? So things like
Yeah.
that I feel like gets an idea of how much they're going to be monitoring you. Also, having like an overlap with the last resident. So SEO and PCO both have the 2 weeks of overlap where the old
Hmm.
residents are
okay.
transitioning out, but the new residents have already started. And so that also
Mm.
I feel like gives the school like more freedom to give them more or less monitoring after those two
Yeah.
weeks because you've
Yeah.
had the past resident kind of guiding you and watching, making sure you know what you're doing before
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
on your own. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I feel like that's really helpful because, some
Yeah.
people might want to be a little bit more handheld starting out versus some people
Right.
just want to dive in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
So I guess something that people maybe don't know all the time when they're kind of considering this is what does a typical week actually look like as a resident? Like how much time are you spending seeing patients on your own versus I know at schools like precepting a
hmm
little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have days off? Like how does that schedule kind of work?
Of course, it's going to be different everywhere, and I actually
Yeah.
chose SEO or ranked them high because of how much I liked the schedule for the cornea
Hmm.
contact lens. So even within the SEO, like my schedule is very different than my co-residents who are in a different
Oh,
specialty. And
Okay.
so my day to day on Monday, Wednesday, Friday are my clinic days at the school. And so some of those days I spend doing direct care, some of those days I spend doing precepting.
mhm.
And then I've kind of done a mixture of contact lens clinic. We have a third year clinic that's only patients under 40, no presbyopes, nothing complicated, just soft contact lenses. And then we have a fourth year contact lens clinic. That's going to be the presbyopes who want multifocals, sclerals, GPs, specialty lenses of any kind. So I've precepted in both of those clinics, but then also in our adult primary clinics, which are for our third years to kind of start out. So those are like my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays kind of just depend on the semester where I've gotten myself into. And then alternate Tuesday and Thursdays I spend with a corneal surgeon here at a
Mm.
ODMD like group practice. And so I see patients with him. I go to the OR with him,
Oh wow.
stuff like that. So I'm seeing like 30 to 40 patients a day when I'm with him, and it's like all cornea stuff that's got referred, anything from the corneal ulcer that's not healing and guy down the street thinks it might be fungal to the
Oh
transplant that just rejected last week or a
my
wound
gosh.
revision. I've removed way more sutures than I'm comfortable with in corneas, but I guess that's
Yeah.
the point to get more
Yeah.
Yeah.
comfortable about it.
Yeah.
So it just kind of varies. And then I actually get like a full day of development on the Tuesday or
Mm.
Thursday I'm not with him. and that's to work
Mm-hmm.
on lectures or posters. And my case report, I had to do a research project to complete residency, and then
Yeah.
also a case report, both like publishable quality, which hopefully I'll be able to get someone to publish here soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of what I did my Thursdays, and I'd meet with my supervisor, make sure I'm up to task. So
Very
that's
cool.
kind of what my week looked like, and I liked that because I felt like since I'm out of school, I should be encouraged to do academic type stuff, and I
Yeah.
felt like SEO really set aside time for me to do that while still
Yeah.
giving me plenty of patient encounters. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to like make the decision again today, knowing everything you kind of know now, would you still choose to do a residency?
yeah, I mean, right now, bad time to ask. I'm like ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like with only my
Yeah.
last day being Tuesday, I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, let me go. I need to get down. Like I'm moving back to Florida. I'm ready to be at the
Oh,
beach.
nice. Yeah.
But like if given the true option, I would still do it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had such a great experience there. And I know it's
Yeah.
different in every residency, kind of how they set it up, but um, it sounds like you had a really positive experience, which is really great. So,
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
and I think that's probably the biggest kind of takeaway from this conversation is that there isn't one correct path for optometry school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
right.
feel like
Yeah. And,
I also feel like you can do whatever. If you do a residency, I don't feel like I've
yeah.
really met anyone who regrets doing it. But if you
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't
yeah,
do
for
one
sure.
and do regret it, you can go back. Like I feel like there's
That's
no wrong
Yeah,
true.
answer.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
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 that is true. So, I guess whether you do choose to go straight into practice or you choose a residency, your career is what you make of it. And
yeah.
like you said, you can always go back and do one later if
Yeah.
that's what you
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Like if you
yeah.
feel like, oh, I want to learn more about this certain specialty, like
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so our
going back.
incoming resident actually, she graduated my year and she's been out practicing for a year and she's like, "You know what? Like I I'm gonna go back and do
Yeah.
residency," which like I applaud her for. I
Yeah.
don't know, like I just said it. You can always go back, but that's hard, like taking the pay
Yeah,
Oh, it
cut and
is.
stuff.
It is.
it
So,
would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I feel like that's why, like, when I transitioned from undergrad to optometry school, like, I knew I just wanted to go straight into it because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'd be able to take a gap year. I feel like it's hard to get back into it, but everybody
Yeah.
does gap years now. So,
right.
but yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, I feel like this is a good time that you talk about your case that you have for us
Yes,
today,
I'm
Meg.
excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about this one.
All right. So, I had a patient. She was actually referred to me from the corneal surgeon that I work with. And so he had done a phototherapeutic keratectomy. She has granular dystrophy. She's in her 40s. I'd have to look. I think she's 42, white female.
Okay.
Okay.
And so she's diagnosed with granular dystrophy. Her brother also had it, and he had been genetic tested. So we know for sure that it's a granular dystrophy.
Okay.
And he did or PTK because she was getting recurrent corneal erosions in her left eye specifically. Medical therapy wasn't really helping with the miro
Mm.
and just lubrication, and she was just really struggling. So prior to PTK, she's about 20/50 both eyes. She's not super happy with the vision, but not complaining. And
Okay.
after PTK, the RCEs have stopped. She's feeling great, no
Mm.
pain, but now she's 2200 from haze.
Mm.
And so suboptimal visual kind of result from the PTK, despite,
Yeah.
I mean, the actual outcome was to stop the RCEs, which was successful. So she's not
Yeah.
mad at the surgeon, but she's like, I can't live with like this. I'm
Yeah.
super off balance.
Yeah.
And she works at a construction site. So she needs
Mm.
good
Oh,
like
geez.
depth perception vision. So
Yeah.
Yes.
he sends her to me to see if a scleral lens can get the vision better. And I fit the scleral lens. And despite, I feel like what a lot of people don't think about with scleral lenses and just specialty lenses in general, they think, oh, irregular cornea, like mask the irregularity, vault over that
Mm-hmm.
cornea, correct the vision. But they don't think about how, like, when there's opacities and scarring and haze, like, and
Mm,
not a lot of irregularity, because if you look at her topography, she barely has any irregular astigmatism. It's just all the
okay.
deposition and haze. And
Yeah.
so, like, I don't think anyone had thought to fit her in sclerals just because they're like, well, there's not irregular astigmatism, but the
Yeah.
opacities, the haze, the scarring, all of that can still be improved with specialty lenses. And so she went from 2050 in the right eye that hadn't had a procedure to 2020. And in the 2200
Mm.
eye, she actually got to 2030 plus. So
Wow.
Wow.
really great outcome. I actually saw her. She was one of my first patients starting residency, and I was like a little like overwhelmed, like, am I
Yeah.
actually gonna be able to
Yeah.
get her vision better? And so it was really a full circle moment because I actually saw her for her annual like 2 weeks ago, and she's still doing
Ah,
awesome. Her lenses fit great.
Oh,
So it was like a nice like start and end to
yeah.
yeah.
residency with her.
Oh, I love that. I feel like every guest that we have on the podcast and they talk about like a case that they had, it just makes you feel like so proud to be an optometrist and do what you
Mhm.
do because the outcome that this patient had is just incredible. So I think it just makes you feel like so good that especially that you played such a big role in like basically making her like quality of life so much better.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Especially because it's now like she was very concerned about like what if I need the PTK in my other eye? Like I can't work anymore because
Mm,
now I'm
yeah.
2200 in both, or if I need it
yeah.
repeated. So now she's not
Yeah.
worried about surgical management in the future, and she
Yeah.
can rely on the scleral lenses pretty much as she can. So
Yeah.
especially with a lot of these like dystrophy patients, even if they get a transplant, the deposition can come back in the transplant.
Hmm.
So a lot of these patients need like to be relying on the specialty lenses, but I feel like
Yeah.
not everyone knows to offer it to them just because
Yeah.
they may
Yeah.
not have a lot of irregular astigmatism. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Was there any like challenges fitting the cornea at all in this case, or was it pretty straightforward fit?
So for her, it was pretty straightforward. I think that's
Okay.
more of a personality thing, though. She's
Mhm.
very like happy-go-lucky, super chill,
Yeah.
happy with anything. Like she's seeing the visual difference and she's like, yeah, it's great. So I will say, just for my dystrophy cases in general, their corneas produce more debris, so they're more likely
Hmm.
to get fogging. I can't
Okay.
scientifically back that unless I did
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
research, but
Yeah.
that's just been my clinical experience. And so I
Yeah.
think that if she was a pickier patient, she would probably be commenting on the fogging, and that
Hmm.
could have turned into a wild goose hunt.
Yeah.
But like for her, she was super easy for me. Some of my other dystrophy patients, we have to really talk about expectations and
Yeah.
Mm,
different ways to manage fogging, but
yeah.
she's my queen.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always love those when they're easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I know sometimes we like for our younger students to listen in. So for those that kind of don't know, PTK stands for phototherapeutic keratectomy. And basically it's just an excimer laser procedure that removes the superficial corneal tissue to smooth the cornea or remove any of those opacities. But important thing to remember is that PTK doesn't cure the granular dystrophy and the deposits can reoccur over
Right.
time.
And
Yeah.
then, I
Like you
mean, for
said.
some patients, like it's nice because since we're removing that loose epithelium and
Yeah.
preventing the RCEs, we also are removing deposition, like you said. So some
Mhm.
patients
Yeah.
actually have like a really great visual benefit, but in her
Yeah.
case, it wasn't the case for whatever reason. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're looking at the cornea through the slit lamp to see like the granular dystrophy, what are you actually looking for? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
So this is where like I'm huge on illumination techniques with the slit lamp,
Hmm.
like cornea girl, like optic section, parallel pipette, like are my bread and butter. So
Yeah.
I'm like immediately looking for like are the opacities anterior, posterior stroma? is the epithelium or endothelium affected at all? And then are we staying central in the cornea versus peripheral? So with something like
Okay.
granular dystrophy, you're going to have like scattered breadcrumb-like opacities,
Mm.
but they only stay in that central cornea. So the peripheral cornea
Okay.
will be spared. And then
Okay.
in granular type 1, those are going to stay more towards anterior stroma, whereas granular type 2, you'll see them spread more into posterior stroma as the disease progresses. But the
Okay.
endothelium should be fully intact, and the epithelium shouldn't really be affected unless there's an RCE. Sometimes you can see like kind of Bowman's membrane disruption, but that's usually
Okay.
pretty hard to pick up on. And so one fun fact is that granular dystrophy is considered an epithelial stromal dystrophy. And so they've recently
Mm-hmm.
kind of reclassified epithelial stromal, and endothelial. And so epithelial stromal dystrophies are dystrophies that are more likely to cause recurrent corneal erosions but affect the stroma. Whereas things like macular dystrophy, that's a stromal dystrophy, but RCEs aren't as common, so it's not classified as an epithelial stromal dystrophy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
Awesome.
studying all those for the
Yeah.
North Carolina boards. Very
Oh,
helpful to
yeah.
remember.
Yeah, you have that coming up soon.
Yes, all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you do have a patient that has fogging, what are some kind of techniques that you typically go to help with that? Obviously, you probably can't get rid of it, but what's like your first step to do next?
So I like to troubleshoot kind of where the fogging could be coming from. So
Mm,
there's three main things in my mind that can be causing the fogging and scleral wear. And so one is like the anterior surface of the lens, and that's just poor
mm,
wetting or like poor tear film. And so if it's the anterior surface of the lens, that's as easy as like re-wetting drops or adding a coating to the lens like HydraPeg, which is
Yeah.
to help the lens re-wet.
yes.
If it's the second thing, which would be like tear exchange, obviously you can check that with like a fluorescein test, like put it once they're wearing the lens, put the fluorescein on the conch, see where it's seeping in. So then
Hmm.
that would just be adjusting the fit or doing some sort of scleral profilometry to get it kind of fitting a little better, like a glove on that scleral.
Hmm.
And then the third thing, which is unfortunately the hardest to deal with and what the dystrophy patients usually struggle with, it is just like epithelial cells sloughing off. And so those are certain types of immunological cells that I don't want to lie and tell you which ones they are, but um,
Okay.
you'll see it kind of looks different than like it first looked like. I've had students tell me that it looks like, oh, there's like mucus underneath the tear lens. And so I actually had a
Okay.
student like yesterday be like, oh, I took pictures on the anterior segment camera, there's like mucus underneath the lens, I think there's tear exchange. And I'm like, okay, let's do a fluorescein check. We check it, there's no fluorescein tear exchange. And so I take a closer like magged up look, and you can see that they're like little tiny flecks, like literally tiny little cells essentially that have clumped all together. And so this
Oh,
patient was a post LASIK dry eye, and she just has a lot of epithelial slough off, is what
Yeah.
I told her.
okay.
And so
Yeah.
that's pretty hard to deal with because we can't necessarily make the cornea stop producing cells. That's part
Yeah.
of its healing process. But I have found that adding like a drop of Celluvisc in the tear bowl
Hmm.
Okay.
instead of just saline can kind of help. And
Yeah.
then thankfully with this, like a lot of patients will tell me that after a few hours it fogs real bad, but then it kind of clears up again if they just keep wearing the lens because those cells just kind of migrate out of the line of vision and they'll all be like sitting at the top of the lens. So
Okay.
Okay.
it's
So I was
Okay.
gonna
something
say,
that you kind of just have to manage expectations and explain to them, and they
Yeah.
usually get it okay. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you don't want them to take the lens out and like
Yeah,
clean
that's
it
what I
and
was gonna
re-put it
ask.
in.
So
Yeah.
some patients prefer to do that. It kind of just depends, like if they're saying like, oh, if I just sit through it, it clears up eventually.
Yeah.
Then like I tell them like if it's doable, then do that if you know it's going to
Mhm.
clear up. But some patients, I mean, we all know how some patients can just be really picky and they're like, I need my 2010 vision all the time. And so
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
patients I am just like reinsert the lens. Like let's
Yeah.
start
Okay.
Okay.
fresh.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like that's such like a good example of, you only learn this stuff through the experience that you've
Yeah.
gotten seeing all those patients and fits
Yeah.
like every day. So I feel like that also kind of leads into our next segment and
Yeah.
kind of
So,
getting
yeah, our next segment, we're going to talk about what something was that you wish you knew before starting residency.
yeah.
hmm, something I wish I knew. I mean, I feel like it, it's no fault of anyone. I wish I knew like more what to expect being at a different school. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, like it just was a very big change about how they do things. Like even some things now, like when I'm in primary care, I'm like, which clinic do you want me to refer this glaucoma patient to again? So it's just like stuff like that. I wish I knew better going into it, like the flow of things, but that's
Mhm.
any job. I'm sure
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
the job I'm starting in August, I'm sure I wish I knew the flow of things better, but it's
Yeah.
just that's
Yeah.
part of working a new job. So I guess I don't have like a deep answer about what I wish I knew. I
Yeah.
feel like what's
Yeah.
nice about the match process, I feel like it does make things very transparent. And so as long
Okay.
as you're
Okay.
asking the right questions, like
Okay.
nobody's forcing you to rank a program that you hated when you
Mhm.
interviewed, which is
Yeah.
nice. Because I
Yeah.
mean, there are
Oh,
definitely programs I accepted an interview from and didn't rank them because I was like, this just is not going to be a good fit.
Mm.
But I
yeah.
Okay.
feel like it's just as long as you're asking the right questions in the interview and like getting a feel and like a lot of it is all vibes. Like it's
Okay.
just
Yeah.
like
Okay.
that's not
Yeah.
the vibe I'm looking for a year. So you're already taking the pay cut. You might as well like where you're at. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Was there anything that they asked you like during the interview that kind of caught you off guard? Like is it more conversational? Is it like clinical questions that they're asking you or what is that like?
yeah, so it kind of depends on where the interview was.
Mhm.
Um, like I felt like at most of the schools it was very conversational, because they really just want to see like, do you want to be at a school? Are you willing to do academic stuff? Like, can you mesh with our faculty, especially at SEO?
Mm.
Like we have a very large contact lens clinic. There's like
Okay.
5 or 6 doctors that only do contact
Oh
lens,
wow.
whereas coming from PCO there was 1 or 2. So it's
Yeah.
like they want to make sure you get along with all the faculty. And so it is
Mhm.
conversational. But then, I mean, there was one interview that I didn't end up going to, but they basically told me I was going to be playing Jeopardy with the other interviewees. Whereas, like,
Oh.
you had to buzz it. Like, they would ask case questions and you had to be like, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to
I-
do that. And it's like, that's coming
So
from me who did
scary.
Quiz Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
I like that
yeah.
kind of thing. And that's not what I wanted to do for residency interview.
No.
So
No.
Yeah.
stuff like that kind of caught me off guard. Um, one question that really caught me off guard was from a site that it was from in a location that I wasn't already super crazy about, but
Mm.
I really liked the program and I still applied. And they asked me how I felt about living where the program was. That
Oh.
completely took me
Uh,
off because I literally had no answer. I was like, in my head, I was like, yeah, I don't want to live there at all, actually. So that was a bad one. Like, I would
yeah.
say be prepared for stuff like that if it's like a location that may not be as desired, I guess. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I guess like when also a question when you're preparing for like residency interviews, like what all do you need to kind of have in your head? Like what do you need to
Yeah.
decide for yourself that you're looking for? When do you start preparing like all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I did most of my research like October, November. I emailed some of
Mhm.
the current residents to ask their opinions of
Okay.
programs.
Okay.
I feel like every interview they're going to ask you like why you're choosing that specialty. Like if it's anything but ocular
Yeah.
disease, which is kind of like just choosing the general, which
Yeah.
like that's fine, but I feel like nobody's gonna like grill you on like why ocular disease when you're trying to
Yeah.
get just like a general overview on eye
Yeah.
disease and stuff. But like most of mine were like, why cornea and contact lens? And my friends who have gone peds, it's like, why peds? Like,
Hmm.
Yeah.
like they want you to be passionate about the subject that you're
Yeah.
choosing. So I definitely feel like be prepared for that. If you're at a school, they're gonna ask you how you feel about lecturing and doing other academic stuff, going to conferences. Whereas maybe if you're a private practice, they're gonna ask you how many patients you feel like you can see in a
Hmm.
day. So
Yeah.
Okay.
just like
Yeah.
knowing like the site that you're going to and what you want. So I knew I didn't want to go to a private practice or like a big hospital just because I wanted time to put into lecturing and teaching and going
Yeah.
to conferences. Whereas like I have friends who did residency and they did not want to have to go to
Mm.
conferences or lecture or do
Yeah.
any of that. And so
Yeah.
they wanted to see as many patients as they could in the year. And so they're at ODMD groups seeing 40 patients a day in
Yeah.
residency, whereas that's not what I wanted to use residency for. So it's
Yeah.
just like
Mm.
knowing what you expect out of the year and
Yeah.
what you
Okay.
want your day to day to look like.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes sense.
What do you feel like made your application stronger?
Um, I definitely have an answer for this because I've been asked this before. I I honestly feel like I had really good letters of rec. Like I was kind of blessed. Like shout out Dr. Guidish at
Oh
PCO. Like
yeah.
I had multiple people tell me that he had wrote the best letter of rec that they had ever read. And I was like,
Oh,
wow, like I really didn't expect that from him, but like thank
I
you.
love that.
So
Yeah.
I do feel like my letters of rec kind of made me stand out just because like
Hmm.
it's part of it is choosing the right personality. So like both of you guys know the doctors at PCO. There are some that you'll be super close to, but you just know like this this person's not going to sit down and spend an hour writing me a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even if you're super close to them and they love you in clinic, they're just not. They're going to pull their template up from Google Docs, copy and paste your name in. So like even though I had doctors that I felt like maybe I'm super close to them and they could write good things about me, I was like, that's not
Yeah.
them though. So I
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
who to ask, who would put in the
Hmm.
time to do the letters, and I do feel like that helped me a lot with
Okay. I feel like that's a really good tip to have because some people definitely would just choose like their favorite
exactly.
preceptor or someone
Yeah.
that they're closest to and
Yeah,
not think about
definitely.
like if that person would actually take time to do it. So good
Definitely.
tip.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. I feel like just like one or two more questions. What is something that students spend way too much time worrying about before they get to residency that actually isn't like that big of a deal as they think it's
Well, that's a
going to
good one.
be?
I like that one.
Honestly, I feel like board scores, like
Mm,
once you pass boards, like nobody cares. It doesn't matter whether you're in an academic space or private practice or a hospital, like they like if you haven't passed a part of boards, like that may lower your chances of matching, but I still know
mhm.
people who match even without that, as long as they're a good
Okay.
applicant otherwise. But I
Yeah.
feel like so many people like expect to enter into academic space and be judged because like they didn't get this super crazy high score or something, and it's just like I don't feel like anyone cares. Like I couldn't even tell you what my co-residents got on boards, let alone like
Yeah.
what any of my supervisors got on boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um like I am super passionate about boards and like increasing the pass rate and stuff just at
Hmm.
schools in general. And so I've been very involved in like tutoring for boards at SCO and
Oh,
doing
nice.
trying to like help with their PEPS cases and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, other than doing stuff like that, nobody's gonna know like what you
Yeah.
did on
Yeah.
boards. Like they only know I did well because I've inserted myself and been like, let me help with this. This is something I
Yeah.
enjoy
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
like nobody cares. Even like grades too, like you made it through, you graduated, that's what matters. Like as long as you can do the do the practice, like be a good doctor, be caring,
Yeah.
be compassionate, know when to treat, when to refer, like that's what
Hmm.
matters. It's
Yeah.
not grades aren't important anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I feel like that is something that like a lot of people think about when they're thinking about, like, they're like, oh, I want to do residency, but I can't because I haven't passed part one, or I didn't do as well in school. So that's
Yeah.
good to know that it's not like at the forefront of the program's minds per se.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely is good to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Lisa, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I think we kind of answered all the questions that we had. I think we got some good information, obviously, because both of us didn't choose to do residency.
Got a deep dive, quick.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But like, I also feel like I didn't choose to do residency because I didn't really want to look into it either. Like, I was just like, it's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But, if I knew more about it, maybe I would have considered it or
It's
thought about
definitely,
it.
it's overwhelming. And I mean, I feel like as someone who like location is important for me, there's like a map on ASCO's website where you can literally look at the map of the United States and it like pinpoints where every residency is, and you can filter it based on specialty too. So I pulled up that map, I pressed cornea contact lens, because it's like after being up north for 4 years, I knew I couldn't handle another real winter. Like that's just not me. I didn't want to be super far from my family. I wanted to be like a quick day flight away at the most. So like location was very important, and there's already so few like residency spots for some specialties that like I was really limiting myself on like to location, and I don't think that limited me on like program like quality or anything like that, but having the resource to just be able to like, okay, where am I doing this? And then every residency will have like their whole overview and everything on ASCO's website as well, where you can do all kinds of different filters. So those were definitely really good resources. You can find the contact information of pretty much all the supervisors, the current residents, the past residents. And so it is like a lot of work, even just doing research to figure out like, do I want to apply and go into this? But I mean, even though it's just a year, like it's still a year you don't want to be miserable for. So I think it's important to put in that work if it's something you're passionate about. So
yeah. And you had said before, like current residents are okay with people who are potentially thinking about coming to that program, like reaching out to them and kind of getting a feel for it and what their thoughts are on the program.
I feel like it would be strange if the current resident thought that was weird. I feel like that's kind of expected. Like all of us did the same thing. So
yeah. Oh, well, that's good to know for
that is good. I probably wouldn't have done that. I would have been like scared or something.
Yeah, I would have been too. I definitely would have been like, maybe
it's definitely nerve-wracking the first time, especially when it's like you reached out to the supervisor first and they're like, oh, email my resident, and you're like, I don't want to do that. Like is that weird? But they're always so nice about it. And like the literal books that I have gotten, and then now that I have sent about the program, like it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like this is a good place for us to start kind of wrapping things up.
Yes, Meg, thank you so much for joining us. I think this episode is going to answer literally so many questions for students who are trying to decide whether they want to do residency and if that's the right next step for them.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I learned a lot about about all things residency, so that was really great.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We were so glad to have you on. And I hope this episode will encourage everyone who's starting residency this month. One thing I really just took away from this conversation is that residency isn't just about learning more. It's about growing your confidence and just becoming the doctor you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. So if you enjoyed hearing about Dr. Patterson or Meg's journey and her amazing clinic days, be sure to follow her on Instagram at Dr. Meg Pat. That's at DrMegPat. She shares great educational content about specialty contact lenses and all the behind the scenes stuff as an optometrist. And I'm excited to see what she shares in her new spot.
Yes, very excited. And as always, a huge thank you to Valley Contacts for sponsoring Blink Collective and helping us just create this space where optometry students, residents, young ODs can learn from one another.
Yes, and if you found this episode helpful, send it to a classmate who's starting residency, getting ready to apply, or even someone who's trying to decide if it's the right path for them.
Yeah, we hope this conversation gave you a little bit more clarity, maybe a little bit more confidence as you navigate your journey.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Blink Collective Podcasts and our TikTok at Blink Collective so you never miss an episode. As always, send us your questions, topic ideas, clinic confessions, hot takes, or reach out if you'd like to be a guest on the next podcast.
And remember,
you do not have to have it all figured out.
You just have to keep showing up.
Yeah, we'll see you next time
on Blink
Collective.